could be good for me. Lately I was feeling like I need a purpose. But when you talk to me, give me the impression that I won't scratch your surface. And I could walk for days, searching for your praise. But is it even there to find? Is there a chance for me to clean your memories? Will I slowly lose my mind?
It's crazy how so much has changed, and yet here we are. Nothing has really changed except me. I don't even know. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm gonna try to do this lighting situation today, but we're probably gonna have to adjust this in a second, so I'm gonna do that now. And here we go. As you can see, I'm trying to rep the OG video that started this channel 4 years ago today, which was The Crown review, which I will link up above. I'm literally getting flashbacks holding up this book in this shirt in front of the setup. Like, go watch the video if you're interested. And this is the first like series that made me really want to start talking about books. And then the reason I'm also making this video is because I have so many new subscribers from a video I posted about the selection that blew up, and I recently hit 2,000 subscribers, so that is another reason I'm posting this video today. And then also this somehow all falls on the first book Kiera Cass has written and published since writing the selection series. It's also published today, so I think really what this is telling me is that Kiera Cass is my fairy godmother or something, because here I am making this video, which is going to be my top 10 favorite books of all time. And then subsequently, I'm also going to be talking about a giveaway where one of you guys and one of my Twitter followers can win one of my favorite books of all time, or a book in one of my favorite series of all time. And I'm so excited to discuss that with you guys. And I can't once again express how grateful I am for all your guys' support, everyone's kind comments over the last couple of weeks, everyone's kind comments over the last 4 years I've been on booktube. It's all kind of came down to this, and I'm glad to be giving back to you guys. So I'm going to first go over how you guys can enter the giveaway, because I want you guys to not fast forward to the end of the video and not even watch my video. But I'm going to be talking about the 10 books that I think are my favorite books of all time. It's kind of hard doing this anytime because I feel like so many different books can kind of interchange and it gets kind of messy, but I came up with 10 books. I have all the rules in the description, but just to reiterate, I'm gonna have these 10 books. Comment down below what book you would most like to get in this giveaway from the 10 books that I'm discussing, or if I talk about a book in a series, you can win any of the currently published books in that series. So one book, and then if you follow me on Twitter, or you want to follow me on Twitter, there's going to be a separate one on Twitter where you can go check out that tweet, which I'll link down below, and you can follow the rules on there to enter to win another book. You gotcha? Okay, I think that's all I wanted to say. I'm sure I could go on a long tangent, but I didn't want this to be too ranty emotional, so I'm just gonna get into my top 10 favorite books of all time. So like I said, I struggled with this list a lot, mainly because there's a lot of books I read over the years, and some of them I don't know if they're still faves, but I feel like they had such an impact on me that I have to make them faves. So with that said, I'm gonna go from 10 to 1 roughly, and coming in at number 10 is Breaking Dawn by Sami Myers. Obviously, I'll come back very quickly now that Midnight Sun is going to be released after being discussed God, I don't know, 10 years ago. I first read the Twilight series when I was 9 or 10, and Breaking Dawn was the first book that I reviewed on Goodreads. It was the first book I felt like really took me to another world. It really got me into reading, and that's really when I started collecting books. This is the last book in the series. If you don't know what Twilight's about, it's a vampire love story about this girl who moves to a new town and she falls in love with a vampire, and it's questionable, and I reread it last year and it was questionable, but it's still one of my favorites of all time. It didn't feel right not to have this series on this list, even though reading it back it probably wouldn't be quality and a favorite. It got me into reading, so I kind of have to give it credit for that. So with that, this is number 10. Coming in at number 9, another book that I felt like I couldn't not include on this list, and that is The One by Kiera Cass. Is this a favorite? It's hard. I don't remember reading the series that well, but this is the first series that I read before joining booktube that really made me want to talk about the books that I'm reading. So I have to give this series credit too. If you don't know what the selection is about, I will link up my Dreamcast. I'll link up my The Crown review. But the selection is about The Selection, which is basically The Bachelor, but for royalty. 35 girls get selected from a bunch of different countries, counties, states, in this country, Ilia, and they are competing for the prince's heart to become the future princess slash queen of Ilia. And this follows our main character, America Singer, and her journey through the selection. This is the last book in the series. I think it was my favorite because it had the most quotes that were just like, you're killing me with all this like love, goodness. And it was like, I think the first couple that I read in a book that I was like, yes, like I love them. And for that, I have to give it the 9th spot on this list. Moving on, we have more recent reads that I feel like I can more firmly say are favorites. And coming in at number 8, we have Call It What You Want by Bridget Kemmerer. While I would recommend all of Bridget Kemmerer's works, I feel like this one just hit the most home with me. This is a kind of Robin Hood retelling about Rob, whose father scammed a lot of people in his town and also recently tried to commit suicide, and he is now impaired. And it was a way to kind of give back to the people his father stole from. He starts kind of stealing and doing a sort of Robin Hood style giving back. And there's obviously romance in this. So there's a girl in this story too that's going through her own stuff. Her sister was like a superstar in high school and she goes off to college and she comes back pregnant. And there's a whole lot that goes on in this book, but the writing, the characters are so real, and it is just one of my favorite books of all time. It just hit so many topics that really struck home with me, or I felt like were really important to talk about, and that is why it's number 8 on this list. Coming in at number 7, I love this book, and that is Alex Approximately by Jen Bennett. This was the first sex positive contemporary I ever read. Well, no, Jen Bennett wrote the first sex positive contemporary I ever read, and it was just so refreshing. And that's one of the reasons I really love this story, other than the fact it is an adorable romance. This is kind of a You Got Mail retelling where the two main characters of the story start writing back and forth with each other on this online forum for movies. They're really close friends, and then the main girl in the story actually moves across country to live with her dad, and it turns out that she's moving to the same town that this guy says he lives in. And we know as readers that the new guy that she's working with at her new job in this new coastal city is the guy she's been writing with, but they don't know, and they kind of hate each other, but they kind of have this like witty banter, and it's so cute. It is so good. I think it's like my favorite contemporary romance, and it's just like so precious, and I love it so much. If you like fluffy contemporary, please pick this one to win. Like, it's so good. Okay, so that's why it has to be number 7 on this list. Coming at number 6 is a more serious book, but one I highly, highly, highly recommend, and that is Everything I Never Told You by Celeste Ng. This was, I think, one of the first more serious contemporary, or I don't even know, is this literary fiction? I don't know genres of adult titles, but this is kind of a family drama that centers around this Chinese American family whose daughter has recently died, and it kind of goes back and forth between the present timeline, past timeline, to kind of lead up to what happened to the daughter Lydia and how she died and everything about this family. And it's really short. It is such a powerful story. It was the first story that I read that I felt like I really gained something from reading it. Not that these other stories don't have important topics or anything, but I felt like I really left it feeling like a different person, and for that it had to be on this list. It is beautifully written. I also read Little Fires Everywhere, which by Celeste Ng, which has also been turned into a Hulu show, which I highly recommend as well. But this is just always going to be one of my favorite books of all time, so that's why it's number 6. Moving into my top 5 is when we really start to realize that I'm kind of trash, but it's fine. We're just gonna let it be that way, especially with this one, which is, I'm sure, controversial. But coming in number 5, I have The Queen of Nothing by Holly Black, which is undoubtedly my favorite book in the Cruel Prince trilogy. I can't even explain to you why. If you don't know what the Cruel Prince trilogy is, it's about this human Jude who is living in the fairy world because her older sister is a half fairy, and after her parents are murdered, Jude, her twin sister Taryn, and her older sister are brought back to fairyland to live out their days there. And it kind of just follows Jude's struggles being a human in fairyland, and also the bullying she faces while being in school by fairies and all the bad things and yada yada yada. There's politics and kind of drama, but I loved this book because it is just such like pure goodness. Like, I'm not gonna spoil anything. There is a romance that also happens in The Wicked King, which is the book before this, that I absolutely adored, and I considered putting both of them on this list, but I didn't because I was like, we're just not gonna do that. But if I had to pick one in the series, it's definitely this one. I just love it. This one just hit different. It hit different. The ending was just my perfect ending. I prefer endings like this one, and it just ended up being that book for me. So that's why it's number 5, and it's just the way it is. Number 4. these were really hard to sort. I'd say like the first two were fine, but then I struggled between whether this book should be fourth or the next book should be fourth, but I ultimately decided that my fourth favorite book of all time is Illumination by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. I always try to combine their names. This is a story that is written in multimedia. I feel like I've opened this book and showed pages so many times. It's written in chat logs and like pretty pictures, as you can see here. It really centers around two main characters, Katie and Ezra, who were dating, but then they recently broke up, and then their planet gets attacked by these bad people. They flee and they end up on different ships, and it's the story of all these 3 ships that escaped this planet, and then also there's disease and war and lots of crazy stuff and AI. It's so good. And like when I reread this year, you can watch my the truth about the Illuminate series video up above. When I read the series, like I forgot how much I truly love this series. It is absolutely one of the best things I've ever read, which is like, is it? It's written so well, the characters are so well developed. I feel like the relationships are so well developed, even though this is literally not written in any sort of prose. It's literally chat logs and pictures and emails and ship schematics and video dialogues. Like, it's so cool and so different, yet you still feel like you get such a wholesome story, like even more so than some like regularly written novels. So I have to give it some props for that. That's why it's number 4 on this list. And moving into our top 3, My Children. Coming in at number 3, Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. This is a love story between the first son of the United States and the Prince of England. There's other topics that are discussed, but Lord, this romance, the topics that are discussed in here, gets me every time. And I just love these characters so much, and I love this story. And I read this when I was the age of the characters, basically, and it's just like so good. It's a romance first and foremost. It talks about politics, but in a way that I feel like is really smart and isn't too in your face for people that don't like that. And it's just a brilliant story, and for that it had to be like top 3 on this list. Like I couldn't not put it here. It's just one of my favorite books of all time. And moving into our top 2, I feel like I don't need to talk about these that much because I've talked about them enough over the lifespan of this channel. Number 2 is A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J Maas. I contemplated putting this as number 1 because the more I think about my number 1 and the farther I get removed from it, the more I don't remember why I loved it so much, but I digress. That's for in a couple of seconds. A Court of Mist and Fury, just, I don't know, like you read this book and all you can say after you read it is just like wow, that really took me to another place. Like that put me through it. Like I started here and you took me through the whirlwind, and I loved every second of it. The characters, the plot, everything just hit so hard. And if you don't know what A Court of Thorns and Roses is about, the first book is essentially a Beauty and the Beast retelling where our main character Farah gets whisked off to fairyland. She's a human after she accidentally kills a fairy, and it's the Beauty and the Beast plot. This book follows the same main character but some different side characters, and the romance, the angst, the plot, the intrigue, like it just is all so good. And I know you've heard people talk about this a million times. I don't need to keep reiterating points about this, but I'd love for you guys, if I'm the reason that you finally get to read the Court of Thorns and Roses series, I would love to be that person for you. So here she is, love her to death. And finally, my favorite book of all time, Always and Forever Lara Jean by Jenny Han. I feel like I've talked about why this is my favorite book of all time. I think I actually made a whole video on it, which I will link up above. This I just read at the perfect time in my life. It sent the perfect message to me about graduating, having a boyfriend, all this and that. The original To All the Boys I Loved Before book is about Lara Jean, whose love letters accidentally get sent out to all the boys she's ever loved before, and she eventually starts fake dating one of the boys whose letters get sent out to kind of avoid dealing with the problems she had feelings for her sister's boyfriend. And it's a really, like, it's not for everyone, I'll admit that, but it's really good. And it was one of my favorite books of all time and still remains my favorite book of all time, especially this one. Like I said, personal meanings to me. I'm nervous to reread this. I plan on rereading it before the next movie comes out next year, I believe, but it's still gonna be up here until I read something that really knocks my socks off or really makes me feel something different. Right now, this is my favorite book of all time. and I'd love to give this series to someone too if they are interested. Okay, I hope this video looks okay, because the more I look at this lighting, the more I think, oh god, Sammy, you've made a huge mistake. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Once again, all the rules for the giveaway are down below. Comment the book you want, make sure you're subscribed to me, and check out the other Twitter thread if you want to enter again. But like I said, this is for you guys. Thank you guys so much for all your support over the past 4 years. Thank you for 2,000 subscribers. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So with all that said, I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you guys very, very soon. Bye! It's not my birthday, but it's kinda my birthday, so yay!